And we are joined now by, and she has been in one of the key, if you like, legal advocates for the survivors of abuse and care, and who has very kindly consented to come out and talk to us this morning and stepped out of the briefing, Lydia Oosterhoff, and she joins us now. Lydia, thank you so much for giving up your time. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you for having me.
Listen, tell everybody, can you please, how did you get involved in this issue?
So I started my legal career in the Public Defence Service, so working with people who were in the adult criminal justice system, and it became apparent to me quite early on that a lot of people in the adult criminal justice system had started out in state care. So I transitioned to a firm called Cooper Legal, working for Sonia Cooper, who's been working with people abused in state care for 30 years. And originally that was just trying to get redress from the different ministries and faith-based organisations to try and provide some kind of acknowledgement that what happened to these people was wrong and continued to impact on them into their adult lives. And in 2016, I was with a group of survivors on Parliament's lawn. They delivered a petition to then opposition MP Jacinda Ardern, asking for a Royal Commission of Inquiry into abuse and care. Survivors have been asking for this for decades, and Jacinda Ardern said that she would make that one of her first 100-day election promises, and when the then Labour government came into power, that's how the Royal Commission came into being. So the Royal Commission's been going for 6 years. It's been a massive inquiry, the biggest inquiry in New Zealand's history. Heard from over 3,000 survivors, both in public hearings and private hearings. And yes, today the final report is tabled in Parliament. So we wait with bated breath to see what that says.
It's almost clear. Well, it's obvious that there is going to be a documentary record of the abuse that generations of New Zealand children and adolescents have suffered, and I guess adults as well. But I guess the more important thing is what happens next. Is the Royal Commission going to deliver recommendations as well as to how to move forward on this issue?
Yeah, so unfortunately I haven't seen the final report, but from reading previous Royal Commission reports, there have been strong recommendations from the commissioners. And I think that's really important that while, obviously the horrific abuse that happened in the past is front and centre of the report, what needs to happen now is we need to look forward, because this is not a historic issue. This is continuing today, where Cooper Legal currently has around one new instruct per day. A lot of these clients are in their early 20s. Our youngest client is 18. So what the focus has to be is for the government to look at these recommendations that the Royal Commission is going to make to try and break the cycle of abuse, because what we do see, unfortunately, is grandparents and fathers and sons, they all come to us because it is a cycle and it continues. And so the government needs to take the recommendations from the commissioners very seriously, because we can't continue to have this stain on New Zealand's history and present day.
Well, you've already got it clear as government support. You've seen the public statements of the Prime Minister, Christopher Luxon. I've also just read out this morning David Seymour, who was petitioning for this inquiry prior to 2017 as well, the ACT Party leader, acknowledging that it's appalling. They're going to be the ones charged initially with leading the response. But I guess what you'd like to see is some form of cross-party solution to this matter.
Yes, I'd like to see all the parties work together to implement the recommendations, and I don't know if that's through a working group or through, and there have been groups created as part of the Royal Commission to give recommendations. So there was a survivor group, and I think, and in 2021, the Royal Commission released an interim report, and that made a number of recommendations, such as repealing parts of the Limitation Act that prevent survivors from taking claims against state agencies for abuse that happened more than 2 or 6 years with leave of the court, increasing rates for lawyers who work with survivors of abuse and care, providing wraparound services. So I think that's really important. This is not just about compensation. This is about trying to help people to undo the harms that have been caused to them as adults, and largely attributed to the abuse they suffered as children. So yes, if all parties in government could work together to implement whatever recommendations are made, we would strongly support that.
Now, you're taking a class action, are you, on behalf of survivors, Lydia?
No, we're not. We take individual claims.
Right.
So most of the ministries, so the Ministry of Social Development, the Ministry of Education, the churches have redress schemes in place, and so we take out-of-court settlements for most clients, and then we do take some claims, litigation claims. So we currently have a claim in the High Court looking at what's called the Rapid Payment Framework. So that's a framework introduced by the Ministry of Social Development, which provides survivors with financial compensation based solely on the amount of time that they spent in state care. So their allegations are not taken into account at all. So we see that as very unsurvivor focused, because it in no way acknowledges the harm that was caused. It just says, it's Ministry of Social Development saying, okay, if someone was in care for more than 15 years, it's more likely they were harmed than if they were in care for 5 years, and someone could have suffered
Oh, that's
horrific
ridiculous.
abuse.
Yeah, that's just crazy stuff.